Welcome to today's video, where one of the most shocking secrets in the history of the British royal family is finally coming to light. After years of staying silent, King Charles III has opened up about something he's kept buried for decades. A painful truth involving Princess Diana, the woman who once meant everything to him. Could this revelation be the moment that sends the royal family into crisis? Let's dive into the jaw-dropping details and uncover the truth behind King Charles's emotional confession in today's video. Surely you've heard the whispers about King Charles's long-hidden secrets, right? What's your take on his shocking confession? Could this really shake the foundations of the royal family? Drop a 1 in the comments if you think this revelation will cause a stir, or a 0 if you believe the royals will weather the storm. And hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the wild stories we have coming up. Now let's jump into this one together. King Charles III has finally come clean about something he's avoided for more than 30 years. He admitted that he never truly tried to save his marriage to Princess Diana. This revelation isn't just deeply personal, it could mark the beginning of a serious crack within the monarchy. William looked at him with a sharp gaze, not as a son, but as a man who had waited his entire life to hear these words. Harry, though silent, clenched his fists, trembling with the simmering anger within. He did not cry, for the pain had long since scarred over. And then there was Camilla, the woman who once lived in the shadows, now standing firmly at the edge of the spotlight as queen. She knew that while she may wear the crown, she would always stand in the shadow of one name, Diana. Even seated on the throne, Diana's presence would forever linger behind her, unshakable and eternal. Charles's apology echoed through the silent room, leaving everyone holding their breath. It wasn't a political move or a calculated attempt at damage control. It was a raw confession, late, unpolished, and irreversible. And in that moment, the House of Windsor didn't begin to crack because of scandal, but because the truth had finally found its voice. Outside, the rain fell, gently veiling the royal garden in mist, as if nature itself was trying to conceal the dark secrets within. In a quiet office, the warm yellow light illuminated the wrinkled face of King Charles III. He sat alone, his hands trembling as he held an old cassette recorder, a relic from the past. His fingers lightly brushed the play button and pressed down. The voice of Prince Philip, sharp as a knife, pierced through the silence in the room. "You are burning your throne for a woman the public will never forgive." Charles closed his eyes, feeling each word as hammer blows to his soul. He had listened to this tape hundreds of times, but every time his heart tightened with regret. Those words were not just a warning, but a curse, a prophecy of collapse. His reign had only just begun, but the shadows of the past, his broken marriage with Diana, the public's contempt for his affair with Camilla, and the fractures within the family pressed down on him like an immovable mountain. Charles stood up and slowly walked to the window, gazing out at the darkened garden. The rain continued to fall steadily, each drop seeming to echo painful memories. Diana's disappointed eyes, the jeers of the crowd, and his own weak voice attempting to justify his mistakes. In a rare moment of honesty, Charles turned to his closest assistant, Sir Edward Young, who stood silently by the bookshelf. Charles's voice was hoarse, as if the truth required all his strength to speak. "I never really tried to save that marriage," Charles admitted, his voice heavy. And the price to pay was the collapse of an entire dynasty. Edward, who had grown too accustomed to the king's moments of self-questioning, nodded gently, but his eyes carried a deep unease. Charles was not only facing the past he was confessing, but this could ignite a storm beyond control. Edward lowered his head softly, murmuring, "Your Majesty, these words. If the public hears them, it won't just be a scandal. It could shake the very throne." Charles didn't respond, silently returning to his desk. His hand accidentally brushed against a small photo, a glimpse of the once happy family, Charles, Diana, William, and Harry, on a sunny day at Highgrove. Diana's smile in the picture was a painful reminder of everything he had lost. In the weeks that followed, whispers spread throughout the palace. Sources close to the king revealed that he had quietly met with those he had wronged, expressing deep regret for his mistakes. However, the most significant meeting took place on a cold evening at Sandringham, where he faced William, his eldest son, who was now shouldering the future of the throne. In the cozy living room, the fire crackled, but it couldn't ease the tension in the air. Charles clasped William's hand, his eyes red from sorrow. "I hurt your mother and you," he said, his voice trembling. "I hurt you. But I want to make things right, William, even if it's too late." William kept his face cold, but his eyes flared with repressed emotions. He stood tall, his shoulders stiff as though trying to suppress the simmering anger that had existed for decades. "You know that," he replied, his voice low. "But the cost-cutting wasn't just the throne. It was us, this family. You chose Camilla, and Mum had to pay with her life." William's words cut like a knife piercing Charles's heart. He staggered back, his face drained of color. In that moment, they were no longer king and heir, but a father confronting the consequences of his choices, and a son bearing wounds that would never heal. The door to the room closed behind William, but those words didn't stay confined to Sandringham. They slithered through the palace corridors, reaching loyal servants, and finally they found someone who couldn't ignore them. Camilla, the new queen, quietly observed Charles's every move. The storm broke on a bleak March morning in 2025, as London's sky hung heavy with dark clouds, foreshadowing a scandal that could shake the kingdom. The Times, Britain's most esteemed newspaper, stunned the nation with a bombshell headline on its front page. An unpublished memoir by Princess Diana was discovered in a hidden safe within an old royal estate. Her handwritten words, though trembling, conveyed a pain that pierced the hearts of millions. "I was not just alone in my marriage. I was isolated in an institution with no escape. I tried, but Charles's heart was never mine. I don't blame him for loving another. I blame him for letting me believe I had a chance." These heartfelt and anguished words were a cry from the past, rekindling a pain the public thought buried. Each sentence, each word carried the weight of a long-hidden truth, a powerful accusation that needed no anger to devastate. Within hours, Diana's voice became a global firestorm on social media. From London to New York, Sydney to Tokyo, posts flooded the internet. Diana spoke the truth. Our princess deserves justice. Outside Buckingham Palace, hundreds gathered undeterred by the cold, drizzling rain. They held signs bearing Diana's image in her iconic white silk dress, her eyes in the photos radiant yet steeped in sorrow. Chants echoed through the iron gates, fierce and resolute. Justice for Diana, truth for our queen. Some placed white roses at the palace gates, a belated tribute to the princess. International media buzzed with coverage. Diana's memoir had shaken the monarchy, and Charles faced the public's wrath. In a private meeting room at Clarence's house, tension hung thick in the air. King Charles III sat silently at the head of the table, clutching a newspaper with printed excerpts from the memoir. His sunken eyes stared into an inescapable abyss. Around him, media advisors argued heatedly, their voices laced with panic and desperation. A young advisor, pale with fear, spoke up. "Your Majesty, we cannot stay silent. The public demands answers. If we don't act, they'll write their own narrative, and it won't favor the monarchy." An older advisor countered, "Admitting fault will only fan the flames. We need to redirect the story to Your Majesty's or Queen Camilla's charitable work." Charles raised his head, his resolute voice cutting through the chaotic atmosphere. "Enough. There's no turning back. If I keep hiding, I'll lose everything, not just the public's trust, but my family too. I'll give them the truth, not all of it, but enough to show I'm not running." His decision stunned the advisors. Charles would speak at a public event in Westminster Hall, originally planned to honor charitable organizations. As Charles stepped to the podium, facing thousands of eyes and millions more through television, the atmosphere grew stifling. The crowd fell silent, only the patter of rain audible outside. Charles took a deep breath, his hands gripping the white wooden podium tightly, his body visibly tense. His voice trembled, stripped of a monarch's usual majesty. "We are not always right," he said, each word pouring from the depths of his heart. "I was not always fair. Princess Diana deserved more love and respect than she received. For that, I am sorry." The hall froze as if time itself had paused. The public was stunned. For the first time, a reigning monarch had publicly admitted personal fault before the nation. Some in the crowd wept, while others whispered in disbelief. Social media erupted. Charles has finally spoken. Is this the start of justice? But not everyone was satisfied. Some called his apology too late, too vague, lacking real commitment to make amends. Behind the scenes, in a private room at Clarence's house, Camilla, now queen, couldn't conceal her fury. The opulent room, adorned with Persian rugs and oil paintings, grew stifling under her rage. Camilla slammed her hand on the ebony table, making a crystal glass tremble. Her eyes blazed as she shouted at the nearest media advisor. "Who did this? Who dared dig up the past to ruin me?" Diana was long gone, yet why did she still haunt her like a shadow that never faded? The advisor, a middle-aged man with a strained expression, nervously handed her a sealed royal envelope. Inside was a small cassette tape and a handwritten transcript. Camilla's hands trembled with rage as she played the tape. Prince Philip's stern, icy voice filled the room as if he were standing before her. Camilla is not just Charles's lover. She is a manipulator, and she will not stop until she has everything, even the throne. As the tape ended, Camilla hurled the dossier to the floor, papers scattering wildly, her face paled, hands trembling uncontrollably. She sank into a chair, her eyes blazing with fear and fury. Despite wearing the crown, despite standing by Charles through decades of scandal, Diana's shadow remained her greatest threat. The recording unearthed from a secret palace archive was more than a warning from the past. It was evidence that someone close allied with a hidden force was plotting her downfall. Camilla stood striding to the window and staring into the darkened gardens of Clarence's house. The rain fell relentlessly, but in her mind a plan was taking shape. She would not let Diana, even in death, take what she had sacrificed her life to achieve. "If they want a war," Camilla whispered to herself, "I'll give them a battle." Her voice was resolute, though unhealed wounds lingered within. Camilla didn't fear this fight she'd fought before, but this time everything would be different. Meanwhile, at Kensington Palace, William received a call from a covert source. The voice on the other end trembled but was resolute, revealing that Diana's memoir wasn't a random leak. Someone within the palace had orchestrated it, and they had no intention of stopping. William gripped the phone tightly, his heart pounding. William knew this storm was only beginning, and to protect his mother's legacy, he would have to fight a battle he was never prepared for. Night had fallen over Kensington Palace, but the chandelier's brilliant glow in the drawing room couldn't dispel the heavy atmosphere. William, Prince of Wales, stood by the large window gazing into the darkened garden where raindrops glistened under streetlights. The man known for his calm demeanor couldn't hide the turmoil within. What do you think William will do next? Will he be able to overcome the struggles and remain faithful to his family and Princess Diana's legacy? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next developments in this story. William's eyes, usually bright with confidence, now harbored a storm of emotions, anger, pain, and a vague fear of what lay ahead. King Charles's shocking speech at Westminster, where he apologized for his wrongs to Diana, still echoed in William's mind. Though sincere, the confession had exposed a fracture in the monarchy, and William knew he couldn't stand idly by. He made his decision in silence. Refusing his security detail, William drove alone through London's wet streets to Clarence's house. He wanted this meeting private, far from the media's prying eyes and the palace's whispered gossip. Stepping into the familiar study, the scent of aged wood and fireplace smoke pulled him back to childhood memories, days when Diana was alive, and their family was a perfect facade for the public. Now the room felt stifling, as if the walls themselves held secrets no one dared speak. Charles sat behind the desk, his face gaunt, eyes red, as if he'd wrestled with his conscience all night. When he looked up, his gaze met William's, and both felt the weight of the conversation to come. Charles stood, his voice thick with regret. "I thought Camilla was my refuge, but she was where I hid from responsibility. I was wrong, William, and I don't know how to make it right." The raw confession, though sincere, cut into William like a blade. He stayed silent, but memories surged like a tide-long childhood nights, hiding behind doors with Harry hearing their mother's sobs. William recalled Diana's tight embrace, her trembling voice whispering, "Be strong, for one day you'll have to fix what's broken." He dug his nails into his palms, fighting the rage swelling within. He wanted to scream, to demand why his father let everything crumble, but he stood still, fearing a single wrong word might snap the fragile thread between them. Finally, William spoke, his voice low but sharp as a blade. "We can't afford to lose any more, Father." You talk about fixing things, but do you know how much Mother suffered? William asked, his voice hard as steel. Do you know how she tried to hold this family together while you only thought of Camilla? You didn't just hurt her, you hurt all of us. Charles bowed his head, his shoulders trembling, as if William's words were too heavy to bear. He offered no defense, no excuses. In that moment, he was not a king, but a father, facing the wreckage of his choices. William turned away, but within him a fire had ignited. He would not let the past repeat itself, nor allow his family or the monarchy to fracture again. Back at Kensington Palace, Catherine waited in their private quarters, her eyes filled with worry, yet resolute. Without a word, she led William to an old safe, holding their family's most precious relics. Inside was Diana's leather-bound diary, its pages worn and yellowed with time. Catherine handed it to him, and William opened it, flipping to the final page. A handwritten line from his mother stopped him cold. If I'm gone, let William start anew, but keep that woman away from my children. William clutched the diary, his hands trembling uncontrollably. The words within were not just a plea, they were a warning, a call to action from his mother. He looked at Catherine and for the first time voiced what he had long buried. Camilla isn't just father's past. She's a threat to our future, and I won't let that happen. Catherine placed her hand on his shoulder, her voice soft but resolute. We'll do what's right, William. Not just for your mother, but for our children and this monarchy. In that moment, William felt his wife's strength guiding him through the dark days ahead. He knew the battle to protect his mother's legacy, and the monarchy's future was only just beginning. Outside the palace, the storm of public opinion swelled. Determined to reclaim her standing after Charles's controversial speech, Camilla prepared for a grand event at London's Royal Albert Hall, a charity gala to bolster her image as queen. She chose a striking red silk gown, a symbol of power and confidence. But beneath the surface, she couldn't hide her unease. The faces of Camilla's media advisors betrayed their anxiety, urging caution. A trembling voice pleaded, "Your Majesty, the public is enraged. Protests demanding justice for Diana are spreading. If you appear now, we fear a backlash." Camilla, her eyes cold as steel, cut him off. "I am the queen. No one will force me from the throne, not even William. If I don't appear, they'll think I'm afraid." And I am never afraid. Defying all advice, Camilla stepped onto the stage. A forced smile played on her lips, her hair impeccable under the chandelier's glow. But as the spotlight hit, instead of applause, she faced a roar. The crowd erupted, waving banners and chanting justice for Diana, with images of the late princess in her shimmering emerald gown. A group shouted in fury, "Camilla, go home!" The cries pierced her heart, echoing the days when Diana was shunned by the royals. For the first time, Camilla felt the isolation Diana endured not just from the public, but from the invisible walls of the palace, where judgmental glances and whispers now turned against her. Camilla maintained her forced smile, delivering her speech with astonishing calm. But backstage, her legs nearly buckled. Her face was pale, her pearl-manicured nails digging into her palms to suppress the trembling. A panicked advisor rushed to her, whispering, "Your Majesty, we've just learned an internal email you sent to Sir Edward Young has leaked to the press. In it, you requested we halt Diana's charitable projects and limit Prince William's role in royal reforms. The media's calling it a plot against Diana's legacy. Someone inside the palace did this deliberately, and they're targeting you. Camilla held her breath, her face taut with strain. The email written in a moment of anger months ago was a mistake she thought buried in the palace's secure servers. Now exposed, it was a dagger aimed at her position. She turned to the advisor, her eyes blazing with fury and fear. Who? She growled each word, hissing through clenched teeth. Who dared do this to me? The advisor lowered his gaze, unable to meet her eyes. We don't know yet, Your Majesty, but it's someone with access to the internal systems. We're investigating, but the press has copies and the public is outraged. Camilla retreated to a shadowed corner backstage, leaning against the wall to keep from collapsing. Her breath came in gasps, her mind reeling with images of screaming headlines and escalating protests, all under Diana's looming shadow, smiling from eternity. She realized her enemy wasn't just out there among the jeering crowds or tabloid pages. The enemy was inside the palace, a close, powerful figure determined to destroy her. She straightened, wiping sweat from her brow, her face hardening. Summon the media team, she ordered, her voice steady. I want to know who's behind this, and I want them punished. No one can threaten my throne. In Camilla's mind, a plan took shape, not just to protect her position, but to ensure those who challenged her paid a steep price. The storm was closing in, and Camilla would not be easily swept away. A plane touched down at Heathrow on a dreary afternoon. London's sky was blanketed with gray clouds as if crushing any faint hope. Harry, Duke of Sussex, descended the steps, his eyes heavy with sorrow, but resolute like a warrior returning to an old battlefield. Though he had stepped back from royal duties, he carried unhealed wounds from a fractured family, torn between loyalty to his mother, Princess Diana, and estrangement from his father, King Charles III. This return wasn't for reconciliation. Harry came to force his father to face the mistakes that shattered their family and to expose Camilla, whom he believed was the root of their pain. His public reason for the visit was a charity event for disadvantaged children, a cause he shared with his mother. But in the shadows of Clarence House, a private meeting had been arranged. Harry requested a one-on-one with his father, no advisors, no aides, no cameras. Stepping into the familiar study, the scent of aged wood and fireplace smoke pulled him back to childhood, when their family was a perfect facade to the world. Now the room hummed with tension, as if the air itself held its breath awaiting an explosion. Charles sat behind the desk, his face gaunt, his weary eyes haunted by ghosts of the past. His apology at Westminster, admitting his wrongs to Diana, still stirred public uproar. But to Harry, it was a belated, feeble confession, too weak to heal the deep scars etched in his soul. Charles rose, reaching to embrace his son, but Harry raised a hand, his gaze cold and sharp as a blade. I'm not here for more apologies, Father. Harry said, his voice low but seething with anger. You spoke too late when Mother couldn't hear. I'm here to show you what you let happen and who's behind it all. Without preamble, Harry placed a small black USB drive on the desk, its weight seemingly heavy with consequence. You need to see this, he said, his voice trembling with suppressed emotion. And then you owe me an answer. Charles's trembling hands plugged the USB into his laptop. The screen flickered, revealing a secretly recorded video from a Buckingham Palace meeting room. Camilla, her face cold and resolute, led a discussion with senior officials. Her voice was unwavering, her tone chillingly calm. What she said next, the plans laid out, was a shocking revelation, forcing Harry and Charles to confront an undeniable truth. Camilla's voice echoed through the secret video. Harry and Meghan are no longer royals. Continuing their security privileges is unnecessary. We need to send a clear message that they don't belong here. If that puts them at risk, it's the price they pay. The room sank into stifling silence. Charles bowed his head, hands gripping the desk knuckles, white as he fought to stay composed. Harry stared into his father's eyes, his voice trembling with rage and pain. "Did she order it, or did you let her?" Charles looked up, his eyes shattered as if his final defenses had crumbled. He opened his mouth, but the words caught in his throat. Finally, he whispered hoarsely, his voice heavy with regret, "I didn't stop her, Harry." "I let Camilla decide, thinking it would keep the peace. But I was wrong, and the price was you, your family." The confession, sincere but agonizing, cut deeply into Harry. He stood, frozen fists, clenched eyes, stinging with disappointment and grief. "Peace," he repeated, his voice choked. "You call putting Meghan and me in danger peace. You call letting Mother live in loneliness, abandoned by this institution peace. You chose her, not us, not Mother." Charles buried his face in his hands, his shoulders trembling as if the weight of the past was crushing him. Harry turned and walked away, leaving Charles in the dim glow of the desk lamp. Outside, under London's cold rain, Harry paused, his breath mingling with the mist. Harry could wield the video as a weapon to destroy Camilla and shake the monarchy, but he knew revenge wouldn't bring his mother back or mend their family. Instead, he made an unexpected move. He sent a copy of the video to William with a brief but weighty message. "You're the only one who can stop her. Don't let Mother's death be in vain." As William watched the video at Kensington Palace, a shock ran down his spine. Camilla's words and actions confirmed his suspicions. She wasn't just part of their painful past, but a persistent threat to their family and the monarchy. For the first time in years, William felt a bond with his brother, forged by their love for their mother and a shared desire to protect her legacy. Gripping his phone, he whispered, "Harry, you're right. We'll do this together." William sought out Catherine, sharing the video and its revelations. In the quiet drawing room of Kensington Palace, they sat facing each other, firelight casting resolute shadows across their faces. Catherine clasped William's hand, her voice steady. "Camilla has gone too far. If we don't act, she'll destroy everything your mother built." William and Harry, once estranged brothers, now faced a shared mission to bring the truth before the royal council. William's eyes gleamed with determination, as if a bold plan were taking shape. The leaked emails from Camilla, combined with Harry's secret video, provided damning evidence from the Royal Albert Hall. But they knew that to confront Camilla and protect the royal legacy, they needed their father's support, King Charles. For the first time in years, the brothers had to unite, reigniting a spirit of solidarity to save the monarchy from collapse. On an April morning, Britain was rocked by a shocking poll. 62% of those under 40 declared they were ready to abandon the monarchy if Camilla retained a prominent role beside King Charles. The figure rang like an alarm bell through the marble corridors of Buckingham Palace. On London's streets, waves of protesters raised banners bearing Princess Diana's image, demanding justice for the people's queen. International media fanned the flames of chaos with sensational headlines warning of a British monarchy teetering on the brink of collapse. Well, after all these years of keeping it hidden, King Charles has finally confessed his biggest regret. What does this mean for the future of the royal family? Could these confessions mark a turning point, or could they spell the end of unity within the family? What do you think about Charles's decision? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an exciting update. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.